I recently received a message from a man I'll refer to as Victor. On paper, Victor appears to be doing just fine. He's 43 years old, owns his own business, and outwardly seems stable and successful. But his letter paints a very different picture. He writes, "Over the past 4 months, I've been on 11 first dates. Every single one ended terribly. Arguments, harsh words, women cutting contact, and blocking me afterward. I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. I show up on time. I'm polite. I try to make a strong impression. Yet somehow, everything collapses. One woman accused me of being emotionally distant and walked out. The one before her said I was overwhelming. Another told me I was dull. I'm starting to believe I'm the problem, but I honestly don't know what I'm supposed to fix." Victor's situation isn't unique. I receive messages like this constantly. Men who repeatedly fail at the exact same stage of dating, experiencing the same outcomes, without understanding why. After studying hundreds of stories like these, a clear pattern emerges. Most men are not failing because of bad timing, bad luck, or because they're inherently flawed. They're failing because they keep stepping into the same 3 traps. These traps may look different on the surface, but they all operate through the same psychological dynamic. Today, I'm going to break all 3 of them down, not to shame anyone, but to help you spot these patterns before they quietly drain years from your life. Because what Victor doesn't yet understand is this. He isn't losing because dating is broken or because women are unreasonable. He's losing because he keeps repeating the same behaviors, selecting the same types of situations, and expecting different outcomes. The real common factor in all of his failed dates isn't chance. It's his own selection process. Before we examine the details, let me give you the structure. Trap number 1 is what I call the promise of happiness. This occurs when a man abandons his boundaries, preferences, and natural temperament because he believes a particular woman, often based largely on her appearance, will provide a sense of fulfillment he hasn't created within himself. Trap number 2 is the reversal. This is when a man enters a relationship hoping it will solve one of his personal problems, loneliness, housing, financial instability, only to discover that he has become the one solving her problems instead. Trap number 3 is the generous angel. This is when a woman floods a man with affection, attention, and gifts early on, creating a false sense of intimacy that pushes commitment before proper evaluation has taken place. All 3 traps share one critical element. They exploit something the man desires but hasn't yet built on his own. They offer shortcuts to fulfillment. And shortcuts in relationships almost always lead to dead ends. Let's go through them one by one. Victor's 3rd date was with a woman we'll call Marina. Marina was exceptionally attractive, the type of woman people notice the moment she enters a room. Victor matched with her online and was genuinely shocked when she agreed to meet. Here's an important detail about Victor. He's introverted by nature. He thrives in calm, quiet settings, small cafes, peaceful walks, places where conversation flows naturally. Loud venues overwhelm him. Crowded nightlife environments make him anxious. He knows this about himself. When Victor asked Marina where she'd like to go, she responded, "Surprise me." Then she added, "But I really wanted to check out that new rooftop bar downtown with the DJ." Victor felt immediate discomfort. Everything about that suggestion clashed with who he was. But then he looked at her pictures again. He imagined walking into that bar beside someone that beautiful. And against his better judgment, he agreed. On the night of the date, Marina arrived 40 minutes late. No apology, just a casual comment about traffic. Victor had been sitting alone, sipping an overpriced drink, struggling to relax as loud music drowned out his thoughts. When Marina finally arrived, she barely stayed seated. She constantly stood up to take photos, greeted people she knew, disappeared into conversations for long stretches. She was completely comfortable. Victor, meanwhile, felt invisible and exhausted. Eventually, she looked at him and said, "You're really quiet. Are you always this boring?" That's when Victor snapped. All the tension, waiting too long, spending too much money, forcing himself into an environment he hated, boiled over. He responded sharply. She fired back. He left cash on the table and walked out. By the end of the night, she had blocked him. Victor told himself she was rude, self-centered, and disrespectful. And maybe she was. But what he failed to see was his own role in the outcome. He had chosen a venue that worked against him. He violated his own nature from the start. The failure was baked in before the date, even began. Worse still, he learned nothing from it. His next date followed the same pattern. Different woman, same dynamic, same ending. What Victor, and many men like him, fail to realize is that the moment he ignored his preferences, he made a subconscious trade. One that went like this: she's beautiful. Beautiful women are rare. Being with a beautiful woman will make me feel better about myself. Therefore, I should do whatever it takes to keep her interested. That belief is the core illusion of the first trap. The assumption that a woman's attractiveness equals your happiness. That securing her attention will somehow fix what's missing inside you. But attraction is not compatibility. Beauty does not guarantee shared values, mutual respect, aligned lifestyles, or effective communication. Victor already knew who he was. He knew he needed peace and quiet. Yet he discarded that knowledge the moment he felt dazzled. Even if the date had gone well, where would it have led? To a relationship where Victor constantly suppresses himself. To a life built on pretending. The trap isn't the woman. The trap is the man's willingness to abandon himself. Real compatibility begins with self-honesty. If you're introverted, choose someone who respects that. If loud environments drain you, don't pretend otherwise. The right woman won't require self-betrayal. The difficult truth is this: beauty isn't rare. There are countless attractive women. What's rare is attraction combined with compatibility. Prioritize the latter. Let me tell you about another man. We'll call him Dmitry. Dmitry was 41 years old and recently divorced. The separation had taken a heavy toll on him financially. He'd lost his apartment and was now renting a single room while trying to recover. Emotionally, he felt behind in life, like he was rebuilding from zero at an age when stability should already be established. Then he met a woman we'll call Oksana. Oksana was 38 and had a teenage son. What immediately stood out to Dmitry wasn't just her personality, but the fact that she owned her own apartment. A nice one. 2 bedrooms, a good neighborhood, fully paid off. Dmitry didn't consciously think, "I'm going to use this woman." He genuinely liked her. But beneath the surface, another thought was quietly running. If this works, my housing problem disappears. I can finally breathe again. Things moved quickly. Within 3 months, Dmitry was spending most nights at her place. Soon after, he'd effectively moved in. That's when the reversal began. At first, it was small things. A loose cabinet. A dripping faucet. Dmitry was practical and capable, so he handled them. Then the requests grew. The bathroom needed work. The kitchen appliances were outdated. The balcony could really use a renovation. Dmitry's weekends vanished into repair projects. His money went toward materials. His energy went into improving a space that wasn't legally his. Then there was Oksana's son, a teenager who didn't respect Dmitry, constantly creating tension. School supplies, clothes, eventually a laptop. Oksana would suggest that Dmitry help out. And he did, because he didn't want conflict, and because somewhere deep down, he felt that helping secured his place. 2 years passed before Dmitry had a moment of clarity. He realized he wasn't a partner. He was a provider, a handyman, a financial buffer. The apartment wasn't his. The improvements increased her property's value, not his future. When the relationship ended, and it eventually did, Dmitry walked away with nothing. In fact, he walked away worse off than before, because he delayed rebuilding his own life to invest in someone else's. Looking back, the signs were obvious. Every repair was framed as "we should fix this," even though ownership was entirely hers. Her son's expenses slowly became Dmitry's responsibility, while her income remained separate. His time was consumed by her priorities while she lived her life uninterrupted. He hadn't gained stability. He'd become the solution. Now let me give you another version of the same trap. There was a man named Sergey. He had always dreamed of owning a small country house, a quiet place outside the city to escape on weekends. He couldn't afford one on his own. Then he met a woman who owned exactly that, a modest countryside house inherited from her parents. When she mentioned it early on, Sergey felt like destiny had intervened. This was everything he wanted. They started spending weekends there almost immediately. And soon, the problems appeared. The roof leaked. The fence leaned. The garden was neglected. Sergey stepped in. Weekend after weekend, he worked. He spent his savings. He rebuilt, repaired, restored. 5 years later, the relationship faded. What remained was a beautiful house that wasn't his. When they separated, Sergey left with nothing but exhaustion and regret. He'd invested years of effort into a dream that had never belonged to him. Dmitry and Sergey made the same mistake. They entered relationships hoping to solve personal problems through partnership, housing, lifestyle, stability. Instead of gaining what they lacked, they lost what they had. This is the essence of the reversal. When you enter a relationship from need, you lose leverage. You stop evaluating the other person objectively. You become focused on securing access to what they possess. That imbalance makes you vulnerable. The woman doesn't have to be cruel. She might genuinely care, but your eagerness makes you the default solution to her problems. You become the resource. Here's the rule. Never expect a relationship to fix your life. Fix your life first. If this person disappeared tomorrow, would your life still function? If not, you're not building a partnership. You're building a dependency. Now let's talk about the third trap, the most deceptive one of all. We'll call this man Andre. Andre was 39 and had been single for 2 years. He was tired of dating games and emotional distance. Then he met Julia. From the very first date, Julia was extraordinary. Not just attractive, but intensely generous. She brought him a thoughtful gift on their first meeting. On the second, she cooked him a full meal. On the third, she bought him clothes she thought he'd like. She remembered everything, texted constantly, anticipated his needs. Andre felt overwhelmed, in the best way possible. After years of chasing, here was someone fully invested. Within 2 months, they were exclusive. Within 4, she'd practically moved in. Within 8, she was pregnant. That's when everything shifted. The generosity faded. The expectations grew. The affection turned into obligation. Andre realized he had committed to someone he barely knew, accelerated by intensity rather than understanding. What he experienced wasn't love. It was momentum. The generous angel trap works because it creates artificial intimacy. It compresses time. You trust before trust is earned. You commit before evaluation is complete. Real connection develops slowly. Anyone moving that fast is prioritizing control, not compatibility. Here's the test. If the generosity stopped tomorrow, would you still want to be there? Now zoom out. Victor chose looks. Dmitry and Sergey chose advantages. Andre chose how the attention made him feel. None of them asked the most important question. Is this person actually right for me? The warning signs were always there. They just didn't want to see them. Dating requires logic as much as emotion. Attraction is not a strategy. Feelings are not a plan. The men who succeed aren't luckier. They're better at filtering. Know what you want. Know what you won't tolerate. Enter relationships from strength, not need. Filter ruthlessly. Maintain your boundaries. Never abandon who you are for someone who hasn't earned that sacrifice. Because at the end of the day, the only person guaranteed to stay with you forever is you.